gave him a hard shove and almost knocked him down and cursed him. And our nation did nothing about it whatsoever. Some of those humiliating things. Why, when Nixon was vice president, he was spit on. They spit right in his face and threw rotten eggs all over the car and almost ruined the car that he was riding in. Just think, those provoking things. And 2 times, our American flag has been, 3 times, on 3 occasions, our American flag has been burned right in front of our Army officials. How do you like that? Just a few days ago in Panama, they took our American flag down off the pole and dragged it through the streets. And when MacArthur passed away, they never gave him any honor whatsoever. Every nation almost on the earth gave some kind of honor. They took an American flag and lowered it half-mast, but Panama stuck their flag up high, and they wouldn't even put ours on the pole while MacArthur was dead. And those provoking things, that's things that transgresses all of the traditions of patriotism and shows disdain and spite work against this nation. Mexico, in the capital of Mexico the other day, they held a rally, Hate America Day. Hate America. Incited by a communist mob, those wild, half-civilized Mexicans went through the streets and celebrated a day set apart to express their hate for America all over the world. It's going on everywhere, and I could go on and tell you the shocking things that happened. Some of our military men, there was 8 of them, high men in our military ranks, were sent to one of the nations and was sent to have a conference and to try to come to some terms or understanding. And before they went into this place of conference, they had them to strip their clothes and take their clothes off and go in there in the nude. And while they were gone, they took their clothes and they had to go out on the streets in the nude. And such humiliating, shocking, unpatriotic things to express their disdain and hate for America. How long will it go on? How long will we allow these things to transpire? In the country of Czechoslovakia the other day, they went into our embassy there, a house and property that we bought from Czechoslovakia. We bought it there, just like when they send an envoy over here, they buy a house over in Washington, and there's where they transact their business and attend the meetings. Well, we owned a piece of property in Czechoslovakia where our embassy was set up. And those men went in there, ransacked the place, tore up all of our records, wrecked the furniture, and insulted every one of our diplomats in that place. How long can all that go on? That hate, as the 11th of Revelation says, and the nations were angry. The nations were angry. That meant these men are angry with each other. And Khrushchev called Eisenhower all kinds of dirty names and called him a liar. And then in just a few days later, one of the ambassadors of Moscow insulted Eisenhower and called him a liar. All of those things going on. How long can that go? How long? Somewhere it's got to stop. Or a nation just has to submit and succumb and capitulate to all of this disdain and scandal and reproach that they heap upon one another. Sometime, somewhere, and that before long, one of those incidences is going to spark a great atomic war, and trouble is going to break loose. But right now, God has control of the thing, and the salt of the earth is still here. Jesus hasn't come and caught his bride away. The latter church has not come to its place yet. It is not time in the sense of the day or the hour for the Lord to come, but we're living in the days of the coming of the Lord. That's the way to say it. These are the days of the coming of the Lord. These are the stretch of days in here that the signs that's to herald the soon coming of Jesus has already broken upon us, and we don't need to sit back with our hands folded and look for any more things to happen that would herald the days of the coming of the Son of Man. From now on, it'll get worse and worse. It'll be intensified and be more frequent until finally every nation has taken all that it can take. And the Scripture said, and the nations were angry, and the time of the dead that they should be judged. And when the Lord is going to judge the quick and the dead at his appearing and kingdom, and that day is about to be ushered in. He has appointed a day, he said in Acts 17, in the which he'll judge this world in righteousness. That day is going to start now in just a few short years. And it's a 1,000-year day. It's Peter said, the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night, in which the heavens being on fire shall melt with hot heat, and the works therein shall be burned up. And so we're entering into that. We're getting ready. It's going to be introduced. The day of the Lord is coming with a crash. The day of the Lord isn't going to just slip in, as it were, but it's going to be announced, and it's going to be heralded out through the earth, so that there will be no mistake made that the day of the Lord is here. As far as the coming of the Lord is concerned, it's to be secret so far as the world's concerned. And the first 7 years and a half, when they cry peace and safety, all of that, of course, is on the quiet. But when it comes to the Lord announcing the reign of Christ and serving notice and summons upon the world and bringing the great men of the world to toll, then is when they'll cry for the rocks and mountains to fall upon them and hide them from the face of Him that sitteth on the throne. And when that is announced, it'll come with a mighty crash and with the ear-splitting sounds and fearful sights. And there's something to happen to bring us up to that. And there's enough signs to alert every Bible-reading Christian in the world what to look for, to give them notice that the coming of the Lord is near at hand. And so we've entered into those times that the Scripture spoke of. And the 21st chapter of Luke gives us the most detailed rundown on what kind of condition that the people's minds and hearts will be in, and what kind of a troublous condition will exist throughout the world, when he said there would be distress and perplexity among the nations of the earth, and signs in the heaven above and in the earth beneath. It would not do for the Air Force to release the news that it has on the phenomena and the strange things that are happening in the sky above. Flying saucers, they call them, and all kinds of funny-shaped objects has so filled the atmosphere 40 or 50,000 feet above this earth, until some pilots don't even want to go up there. When they're ordered to go that high, they have encountered so many strange objects flying around their planes that it wrecks their nerves almost, and they don't want to go up there and dodge them anymore. One pilot just recently said there was a cigar-shaped object of some kind that darted back and forth in front of his plane at such terrific speed and encircled his plane and would dive at it and just barely miss it, until he came down a nervous wreck, trembling at the controls when he landed his plane, and said, "If I have to go back up, I'll resign." He said, "I'll never go back up through such a shocking thing as that again." And he was ready to turn in his license when they gave him another position and didn't require him to go back up there again. He said, "It's just too scary up there. There's too many things happening." He said, you sit there behind those controls, flying faster than sound, and then those objects dart back and forth in front of your plane and circle your plane and dive at you and all around you. And he said, "I just refuse to go up there in that part of the sky again." And they have hundreds of incidences. Every time there's a mission up there, and a mock battle of some kind. And our strategic air force is constantly putting on these military maneuvers, 40,000, 50,000 feet above our head all the time. And they're running into all of these strange happenings, and strange things happen to their plane. One man reported that suddenly his plane just slowed down, and he just thought sure that every motor on it had died. And the thing just slowed down to just a snail's pace, and all of a sudden it took hold again and started again. And he can't account for it. He doesn't know what happened. He has no explanation for it. All he can do is come back down and tell the people on the ground what happened to him. And they look at him with skeptical eyes, and some of them believe them and some of them don't. But these men have gone down on record and sworn with their hand raised toward heaven that certain things happened to them while they were up in the sky. And the Lord said there would be signs in the heaven above. There would be signs in the heaven above, and in the earth there would be distress among the nations and perplexity, men's hearts failing them for fear, looking after the things that are coming upon the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken, and the sea and its waves roaring, and men's hearts failing them for fear. Look at the waves that's going over this world. That's not talking about the Atlantic Ocean and the waves out there and the Pacific Ocean. However, there's to be freakish things to happen in these great bodies of water as well as over here on the land. But there's other kind of waves hitting this world. There's waves of all kinds. Racial spite and hate is sweeping over the country, and waves of child delinquency, and all kinds of lawless things happening in this world.